What's the most unlikely friend you've ever made? I was working at a grocery store when I stumbled upon something in the back. It was a cake. One of those perfectly decorated custom ones, white frosting with soft pink writing that said, "Happy 16th birthday, Katie." It was just sitting there in the pickup freezer, forgotten. The ticket said it had been ordered for pickup the day before. I checked the order. No one came, no one called, just a first name, David Reeves, and a number that rang twice and went to voicemail. Now, we're supposed to toss stuff like that after a certain amount of time, especially if it's perishable. My supervisor Sarah saw me holding it and told me to go ahead and trash it, but I don't know. I couldn't. Something about it made me pause. I kept picturing a girl waiting for this cake that never came, and I thought about my own 16th birthday, the year after my parents split, when no one remembered until a week later. I took the cake home with me that night. I knew I probably shouldn't have, but I just couldn't let it end up in the dumpster. Later that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I found David's profile after a little social media digging. Not much on there. A few pictures of him and what I guessed was Katie. One old post that hit me hard. It was from 2 years ago about losing his wife to cancer. Just a simple message with a photo of her holding Katie as a baby. I don't know what came over me, but the next morning, I looked up his address. Took me a while, but I found it through public records. I didn't even really think. I just got in my car with the cake and drove over. It was a modest house. Lawn a little patchy. No lights on even though it was past noon. I hesitated at the door. My palms were sweaty. I almost turned around. But then the door opened. A girl, probably 16, thin with long hair and tired eyes, stood there like I was the last person she expected. I said, "Hey, I found this cake. It had your name on it." She stared at it. For a second, I thought she was gonna slam the door, but then she blinked, hard, and her whole body shifted. She didn't cry. Not right away, but I saw it hit her. "My dad must have ordered it," she said, voice flat. "He got called in for an overnight shift. Texted me this morning. Said we'd do something next weekend." She tried to shrug it off like it didn't matter. "It's just a birthday," she said, but her voice cracked a little at the end. She offered to pay me for bringing it, but I told her no. I asked if maybe we could just share a slice instead. She looked at me like I was a total weirdo, but then she stepped aside and let me in. The house was quiet, too quiet. There were art supplies on a table, dusty, a piano no one had touched in a while, family photos on the wall, all full of light and smiles that didn't seem to exist there anymore. As we sat at the kitchen table with the cake between us, I asked her if she liked art. Her face lit up for the first time, and she said her mom used to paint with her all the time, that this cake looked just like the ones her mom used to make. She ran her finger along the frosting like it was sacred. "I didn't think he even remembered," she said in this small voice that got me right in the gut. I told her a little about my own teen years, how my parents split, how I knew what it felt like to be alone in a house full of silence, and that maybe the cake was her dad's way of trying, even if it was messy and late and a little broken. She stared at me for a long second, then pulled out her phone and took a picture of the cake. She typed something, hesitated, then sent it. "I told him thanks," she said it was perfect. A few minutes later, her phone rang. She put it on speaker. Her dad's voice was rough and quiet. "I'm sorry, Em. I didn't forget. I didn't want to mess it up." "It's okay," she said, and her voice was soft. "Thanks for the cake." He started crying, just a little. I looked away to give them space. When she hung up, she looked at me and asked if I'd stay a bit. We ended up going through her mom's old recipe book. She hadn't touched it since the funeral. Her fingers traced the handwritten notes in the margins like they were something holy. When David got home, he looked confused at first. But when Katie told him what happened, something broke in his face. He hugged her so tight and mouthed a thank you at me. A week later, I got a watercolor card at work. It was a painting of the cake with tiny stars around it. Katie wrote, "Thank you for delivering more than just a cake." She said they were baking again. The first recipe they were going to try was her mom's birthday cake, this time for her dad. She ended it with, "Join us, if it's not too weird to have cake with strangers who aren't really strangers anymore." I still keep that card in my locker.